It's about that time.
Hello and welcome to City Views. I'm Jacque Williams, your host. We'd like to thank the sponsor for City Views, Toth Insurance Agency, located at 1151 East Main Street. Better protection, better value. Now, speaking of values, I have the lovely and intelligent Executive Director of Kids Play here with us today. The one and only Eileen Marriott. Hello, Eileen.
Hello, Jacque.
We had just finished one of the, I would gather to say this was a very satisfying and gratifying event, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We just celebrated Juneteenth and the unveiling of the mural, which was a collaboration with various different groups and entities. So many, I don't even have the time to go into them by now, but a lot of people were involved in it, including Kids Play. And Eileen, I got to compliment you, man. You were like Johnny on the spot.
Yeah, we pulled it off. You know, it was, we at Kids Play are so fortunate that this incredible mural, really incredible mural, is now the beacon to all people who are visiting Kids Play.
Yep.
When they come and park in our parking lot, that's going to be the directions we give them. When you see Amanda Gorman, turn right.
Yeah, it's just indicative that Kids Play is all business.
Yes.
So now I've known Elaine for quite a few years and have been able to witness the growth of Kids Play in the downtown area. And Eileen, I want to talk to you a little bit and to our audience about how you've been able to weave this concept into a downtown location. This is literally a kids museum, and it's been able to not only survive but thrive, especially through a pandemic.
Yeah, it was, a pretty incredible vision that the board had, and really kind of looking at what was happening in our community and thinking about focusing economic redevelopment on young children. Like, who is our future? Our future is children. What is the future for Torrington? These kids. And so before my time back in 2012, I was actually still living in New Jersey and home with my young kids. And, a group came together and, kind of was very experimental. They built exhibits in their homes and in their garages and bought the bank building. And that creative spirit has really kind of evolved from there. Our board president, talk about curiosity. 10 years ago, he had never heard of a children's museum. Yeah, this is true.
Wow.
Since that day, he has visited over 75 children's museums on 3 continents. Wow. So, he became curious, and what he found out was what works in Torrington, works in New York, works in California, works in Tokyo, Portugal. Yeah. Kids, they just need open-ended play. They just need the raw ingredients to use their brains and, spaces that foster collaboration.
I can only imagine, as the executive director, how difficult it might be in your programming coming out of the pandemic. What types of issues are you dealing with?
A little more than a year ago, I would have said, we are going to wait this thing out. Right. Kids aren't going to come to a children's museum wearing masks. Kids aren't going to be able to do this. And then we were given permission to open about this time last year. And so then it became about, how would this possibly work? How can we let children, come into a space that's been collaborative, like kids play together at Kids Play. Like, kids from all over the state come to Kids Play, they make a best friend for the day. How is that going to happen in a pandemic? So we set up all these rules, everybody had to wear a mask, groups had to stay separate, but you could play within your family group. Fast forward a year later, people have been wonderful. Things are opening up again, so which is great. So we've kind of held on to masks because children under 12, which is our audience, are not vaccinated. So we want to protect them. But we also want to be realistic that, that this pandemic, we're at a really good point, especially here in Connecticut. So we're letting kids play together again. They have the choice. They have little wristbands, green if they're ready to play together, and red if, the family is at a point where they're still maintaining social distance. So we're coming out of it. Things are getting better. However, we're also being really vigilant, and if things change, we'll change back the rules a bit. But we're looking forward to these kids getting vaccinated, that's for sure.
I tell everybody when I talk about kids play that when you go in there, you can't help but be reduced to a kid. It's like you walk into kids play, I don't care how old you are, you're going to go back to 5 years old because you're going to want to play. And you have so many exhibits in kids play.
Yeah.
And I know it's just for kids, okay? But talk to our audience a bit about what might entice them.
Well, Kids Play certainly was designed for that very young child. But what we've discovered is, we really want parents, like we're not babysitters.
Right.
We aren't watching your kids. Sometimes we have programs, but really it's a whole family outing. And sometimes somebody will say, well, why do I have to pay? And it's like, if you come to Kids Play and you do it right, you're going to have as much fun as your kids. Whether it's watching them kind of sitting, we have these just the right size little bench stools outside the diner, and you can sit and have your kids serve you for once, or sit in the audience, have them put a production. You see, we've had a long day, so I'm talking about sitting a lot. But our maker space,
Yes.
There's nothing better than sitting next to your kids. Yeah. And playing with a bunch of Legos, building some cars and racing them. Because, I'm a little competitive, and I'm gonna make sure that my car's a little faster. I've had a little more time with design. But it doesn't always work out.
Okay.
And then, actually, since the pandemic, in the early days, we did take off a lot of the small manipulatives because we wanted to have fewer surfaces to clean. Right. But we've actually added 4 major exhibits: the climbing wall, the bank, evaporating art, and our Lego ramps, as well as 9 smaller exhibits. So in the last year, not only have we not just kept our head above water, we've been able to expand what we're doing, which is really awesome.
That goes to leadership, and which is something that I did want to touch on with you about, because I think in the unique community that we live in, mm-hmm. Torrington's a very collaborative community, and when events are planned, sometimes you may need the resources or assets that another group may have, and Torrington's always been open to that, and I think that at this particular time, it's very important to have those components in our community. But you don't get there if you don't have leadership at the helm that has a vision and understands how to bring the community together. Talk to our audience a little bit about your leadership skills and why you feel that it's an asset to you in the previous work that you're doing.
Oh, my leadership skills in particular, I think it's it's thinking about what each of us have. Whether it's like today, tables and chairs, tents, and all of that, what each of our organizations brings to the table. Yeah. Yep, exactly. But also and some of that is not, those physical assets. Some of it is connection. Some of it is just leadership styles, as you're saying. And I think that it's about sort of setting aside wanting to be the premier of anything and knowing that, you just want to be a part of something great. And I really, I look at what's happened, and, I've been back in Torrington about 7.5 years, and almost 8 years now, sorry. And the growth I've seen in the downtown through a pandemic, really through some of the most challenging times that we've seen in a century. And there is no greater point than the last 18 months in terms of collaboration, creativity, and connection between all of the organizations. And it's really amazing. And I think it really is just about, we can't work as these independent silos. We really have to work together and bring our best selves, bring our unique resources, our unique audiences to the table, and let something beautiful emerge. Today was a perfect example. This Juneteenth celebration, there were 8 or 9 organizations involved, and everyone brought something to the party. And it came together beautifully. And I think that's just going to continue to happen because we've had successful collaborations. And right now I think we're at the perfect moment to really see major change happen in a good way downtown. We've been on the trajectory, but I think that momentum is building.
Eileen,
Yes.
we are here in the former Salvation Army
Yeah.
venue, and you got big ideas for this place. This is an expansion,
It is.
which is miraculous within itself.
Yep.
Expanding after a pandemic, but you got to have some type of vision, clue in order to do that.
Yep.
Talk to our audience a little bit about what you plan on doing here.
So actually, this vision started before the pandemic. We actually bought this building in 2019 from the Salvation Army. It had been on early plans for the museum, and then it kind of went away. We were like, oh, maybe we can't do it. And then in 2019, we said, no, we have to do this. This space is really amazing. It is, right next to our original gallery. And quite frankly, we were running out of space for exhibits. And then, the model was working. Before the pandemic, we were bringing nearly 50,000 people a year downtown. Yep. With this space, it's like this perfect, talk about collaboration. We get people downtown during the day. The Warner lights it up at night. I mean, really incredible, synergy there. So we are, looking to sort of match that audience in the future. Grow to bringing 70,000, maybe more downtown. But we have to do that by bringing in new exhibits, reaching different audiences. And I'm confident we can do that. And, with this space, we also see the space we're in right now, right over in this front area, being a bit of a hub for community organizations, including, Torrington Public Schools has their Community Family Learning Center. Right now it's tucked away in the back of the museum, and, we want to bring that down to Main Street. They're meeting kids who are entering kindergarten here at the museum this year. They are a real connection for families to the school system. One thing that's changed in the last 10 years especially has been schools with the concerns about security have been less accessible to families. And, here is a place where families can, meet with their teachers, meet their principals, I think before the pandemic, we hosted the STEAM Carnival here. So there's just a lot of possibility with that. So with that, we are also building out a program room that will be accessible to partner organizations and the community without renting the whole museum, because we understand that's a little expensive when we have to staff a whole museum for just a program room. And then we will have a big space, a big gallery for traveling exhibits, so we can bring in big name exhibits from other children's museums and science centers from across the country. And we will also have a multi-level major new exhibit. in 2016, I think it was, when we finally finished the treehouse, I never thought we'd do anything to that scale again. So here we are, 2021, and not only are we bringing on a really big space, but I think this is going to be, if I thought that was our world-class exhibit, I think our exhibit to be announced will be really world-class, but it'll be 2 levels, and it will be the focal point of this gallery. And you know, when we don't have traveling exhibits, we have now a whole collection of exhibits that can rotate through the space. But we also envision that as between big traveling exhibits as a little bit of a community gallery. We recently sat down with members of our local and growing Latinx community, and little did I know there are 19 countries of origin who are Spanish speaking here in our community, and how much we can learn just like kind of focusing on some of those countries. You know, we really want to make sure that everyone feels welcome here. And that's like a really big thing for me, is that this museum is for every child in this community, like every kid. And so, you know, on that note, we know that there's, you know, some economically disadvantaged members of our community. And although we're really proud of having one of the lowest admission prices in Connecticut at $8 a person, anyone who comes to Kids Play with their SNAP card, their admission is $2 a person. And it's through a national program called Museums for All. And it really just opens up the doors to so many families. And it's not just families with the young children. You know, if a senior wants to bring their grandchildren and they have a SNAP card, they just bring it. You order your tickets online using the Museum for All code, and just show your SNAP card when you get here. But you know, this summer something special is going to happen too. Our governor has decided that it would be a really nice investment for children to go free to museums between July 2nd and Labor Day. And you know, we're really excited about that. We think it's going to bring a lot of families to Torrington to visit Kids Play, and that it's just really like getting kids back on track is critically important. They've had it the worst of all of us. You know, their lives have changed so much. And if they can be here and get used to playing alongside a kid, not having to keep the 6 feet distance, or just get really curious, I think that's going to change their experience going back to school in the fall.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've just witnessed leadership at its finest. A vision that goes beyond one's self, but looks to meeting the needs of others. That, ladies and gentlemen, is leadership.
Thank you so much, Jacque.
You're very welcome.
About that time.
Thank you for tuning in to this segment of City Views. We're going to be giving you some real good content from today's Juneteenth celebration, so we want you to stay tuned for that coming up. And as always, don't forget to check out our City Views programming on our City Views CT YouTube channel, or you can go to our website, cityviews-ct.com. City Views coming at you right here from the fine city of Torrington, Connecticut. Thank you for tuning in to City Views.
City Views, City Views, City Views.